Hey, welcome to Ed, a podcast about the teaching life. This is Conversation 67, and I'm your host, Shane Lawrence. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB, and this week I am talking with Caterina Rylance. Hello.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Caterina.
Nice. Hi, Caterina. Yes, nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Nice to meet you. Good.
Good. How was your day?
It was a crazy one. I feel like it was like a full moon today, but that's okay. We made it through.
That's exciting. What made it a crazy day for you?
Just like weird things were happening. Like kids that usually are little angels weren't. And just like,
yeah.
just, like when you come in, like after a long weekend and you're like, okay, anything can happen. Like I work in middle school, so it's grade 5 to 8. And it's like, you don't really know what's going to walk through your door. And today it was like all kinds of wacky. So yeah, just like taking a deep breath, and we made it through one of those hard days. So
yeah, I have days like that too. Where it's just like, who are these people?
Yeah,
what happened?
You were not like that when you left me on Friday. So what happened over the weekend?
Yeah, I get it. That's so. Days like that are just weird. You're just like looking at the clock, like, okay, I can do it. 10 minutes left.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you teach? Sorry, what middle school?
Yeah, so it's a middle school model, so we're grade 5 to 8, and I teach grade 8.
Oh, okay, so right at the very top there.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's try and put a little finer point on that. You're teaching grade 8. Can you tell me a little more about like what your assignment is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I teach ELA Social grade 8, and I also teach in the Ukrainian bilingual program. So I teach Ukrainian as a second language and culture. And then I'm also the ESL lead coordinator for my school. So I deal with teacher coaching and ESL pullout and benchmarking. So pretty much ensuring that everybody's on the same page with how to support all our ESL students.
Do you have a lot of them?
In our school, there's about 63 of them. So, and we have a school at just about 580. So population wise, it's not a lot, but there are still about 62, 63 of them. So it's a pretty good number. So
that's a pretty significant portion of your population.
Yeah.
Cool. So the Ukrainian thing, that's kind of a different thing.
Yeah, it is.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, I grew up speaking Ukrainian. My parents aren't from Ukraine, but we kind of have Ukrainian descendancy, and I was pretty involved in the community. And I actually just took an interest for second language when I was in university. I studied Spanish. So it was kind of an easy fit if I was going to education, that I was going to kind of take up second language teaching, because I was a second language learner and had a passion for language and culture. So being Ukrainian and being a part of the Ukrainian community, it's an awesome chance for me to kind of spread the love and spread the joy and be a part of the community. So that's kind of what it's like to be a part of the Ukrainian bilingual program. But it is a really incredible program because lots of the kids also have descendancy from Ukraine. So it's kind of like a little community in a way that you connect with students that is so much deeper.
Yeah. So there's, how does the Ukrainian culture work then in your class? I mean, is it something you bring in beyond just the language learning?
Yeah. So a lot of the work that I do, even with my English as a second language learners, is really tying in culture and language together. So as a program, we really try and have language as a strand, culture as a strand, and then also religion, as we work in a Catholic school. So it is language teaching, so like the fundamentals about language, how to speak the language. But we're really finding that culture is such a significant part in language acquisition, because it contributes to student motivation and kind of that why factor, like, why am I doing this? Why am I learning this language? And so getting the kids to really understand, like, this is a way that people live, and this is a way that traditions exist and beliefs exist, is really incredible. So we kind of tie everything together in one, and they love it, and I love it, and it makes it so much more fun.
Right on. So, okay, real quick, like you said, you learned Spanish. I mean, I don't know much about the structure of Ukrainian as a language. In fact, I know nothing about it. Is it like a Romance language? I don't.
It isn't. It's a Slavic language, so it has a completely different alphabet. It's similar to Russian.
Okay.
And so learning Spanish is totally different than learning Ukrainian. But I like to say that once you know one language, it's just like riding a bike. You kind of like understand, okay, there's different functions and different tenses, and it definitely helps you to know other languages. And so even though they have nothing to do with each other, because I already had that background and okay, there's prepositions and okay, there's verbs and kind of a deeper understanding of just knowing English, it was easier for me to learn more than one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's okay. So if you're going to teach someone Ukrainian, like what would be like the first phrase you would teach them?
Probably hello, or my name is, or where's the bathroom? One of those.
All essentials, especially that last line. That was the first phrase I learned when I was learning Spanish. Where's the bathroom? So okay, so how do I say hello, my name is in Ukrainian?
Okay, so hello, there's a few different ways, but I'll teach you this word. So we say привіт.
Привіт?
Yeah, it's like a PR sound, so it's like a pr.
Oh, pr. Okay.
Pr. So привіт.
Привіт, okay.
Yeah, there you go. So that would be like hello.
I'm talking Ukrainian, all right.
There you go.
Okay, I love this kind of stuff, but I could probably just turn this into a you teaching the Ukrainian podcast, and that's probably not what people are signing up for. So
totally.
Okay, so I guess whenever I like to have someone on the show, or whenever I ask someone on the show, it's usually because something, honestly, in their Twitter profile is like, ooh, that's interesting. And the thing that caught my eye was in your little bio, it just says #survivingteaching.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We got to unpack that a little bit, because I mean, I actually like it because it feels really honest, and in the Twitterverse, as you probably know, it's a really positive place, almost to the point where I like to search for just a hint of negativity. Yeah. And so surviving teaching is like, that's not like everything's perfect and fine and wonderful. It's like, hey, I want to talk to that person. So let's talk about the surviving teaching thing. Yeah.
So in my first year of teaching, as anybody knows, in your first year, it's kind of like you have no idea what's going on and you are literally just surviving day to day. And so in my first year of teaching, I created my blog, which was Surviving Teaching. And it was a way for me to reflect, I think, as a new teacher, but also to document the moments where it's like, I'm not okay. And absolutely those like authentic moments of I'm just trying to get by and I'm trying to learn from myself and I'm trying to learn from other people. And my hope by surviving teaching is that other new teachers or other teachers that were going through similar experiences could learn from what I had experienced, and kind of for them to know that it's okay to not be okay. Right. Like I think as teachers, we often mask ourselves in thinking that we're perfectionists or we're experts, and some of the time we are, but some of the time we really aren't. And so for me as a new teacher, I was trying to make it an authentic experience for myself, reflecting on that, but also for others, so that when they were going through similar things, we could be anchored in each other.
I like that. Like, was there sort of an antecedent for that? Like, was there something that sort of pushed you towards feeling like you needed to be able to share that sentiment?
Well, I was really lucky because I started at my school with 2 other brand new teachers. And so we kind of created like a little cohort on, okay, how are we going to strategize to get through these things? But I think what really pushed me to create my blog was thinking about those people that don't have that, right? Who don't have the community, who don't have somebody to be like, hey, this really crazy thing happened. Like today I had one of those days where I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? So I think that was really my motivation in trying to be that anchor, be that person for other people to rely on when they thought like, man, I really have no one else in my corner.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I mean, I think that needs to be more a part of the conversation. And especially, in the digital space, like I'm coming off, like I do a lot of Twitter chats. Not as many as I'd like, but enough. And I was in one, and I just left it at one point because I was trying to be like what you're saying. Like, there's a moment where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not perfect, and and I totally I don't know if it's a thing, but I think I got teacher splained.
Mm-hmm.
If mansplaining is a thing, teacher splaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just
and I also think there's no one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
As teachers, there's no prescribed path in saying this is the absolute way to be an amazing teacher. And just like anything, you're going to have successes and failures and learning moments. And it's okay to be, I guess, authentic with that and realistic with that. And I don't think that it's anybody's, I guess, place to say this is one way or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all just trying to learn from each other. And I hope that my blog really does that, is highlight that, there is awesome moments, but there's some moments that it's just okay, we're along for the ride and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, have you had much of a reaction then from your blog?
I have. It's really interesting that I think the more positive blog posts do get more attention, which I also think is interesting when you're just talking about kind of changing the conversation, because in the social media world, I think we're attracted to seeing positivity, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely do have a pretty large following on my blog, but the posts that get the most attention are the ones that are showing all the crazy cool things I'm doing in my classroom versus the days where I'm not so cool and okay. So it's interesting how that pattern's working.
Well, I mean, you could probably argue that brokenness, I guess, if you want to put it that way, that sort of, I'm just not doing so great. That's not quite as sexy to a reader, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think it still needs to happen, like you say. And I mean, I don't know. It's nice to be in search of, the resources and the things that help. But boy, it sure is nice to know sometimes that other people are having a hard time,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because I read a blog from another writer, Pernille Rip or Pendila, I think, Rip. And she wrote this really raw, honest blog about how things are just not great. And I thought, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah. And she's also amazing. And I think that I actually heard her speak in the first year when I was starting my blog. And part of it was also learning from her, right? And she, in her speech, said, I have met people who were on the same page with me when they didn't agree with things that I was talking about. And it was cool to connect with those type of readers. So I think maybe my blog will evolve to that, where I can gain more connection with people that are learning and evolving like me. And I'm excited for that phase as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, speaking of learning and evolving, you're actually going to be doing your master's, or are you doing your master's?
Yes, I'm currently enrolled in my master's. So I started just last month. And so I'm on that journey now and starting to better myself. And as teachers, I think we're always lifelong learners. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens out of that too.
Well, I mean, how long have you been teaching?
I'm in my third year teaching now.
Okay, so that seems rather sudden.
It is.
I mean, most people I know who are doing the masters, they've been kind of going at it for 10, 15 years and it's time for something else, right? So why so quickly?
So I think for a few reasons. First, because I'm always looking for ways to better myself and evolve and become better in my profession and as a person. So even in my first year teaching, I was still taking university courses at night. So I think it's just, So I probably wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but it's just kind of in my nature to always be learning and evolving. And when I see kind of gaps in what I'm doing or gaps in an education system where I feel like I can do better things, I'm always looking to kind of gain that ability. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that being young, I don't have a family yet, so it's easy for me to find the time to be able to do it. Yep. And I know that I have lots to contribute to this world and teaching in this profession. So I'm excited to see kind of where that goes. And I know that it's important in my journey, wherever that's going to be.
Right. Well, so you're a big sort of a learning junkie then.
Oh, yeah. Addicted to learning, I call it, right? You can never get enough. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to take the next course. I'm always trying to figure out how to get the latest, greatest thing into my brain. So definitely I have a little addiction to it.
All right, we're going to get back to me and Caterina in a second. But first, I want to tell you about our new sponsor, Park Power. In Alberta, you get to choose who you buy your energy from. You're tapping into the same supply as everyone else, but you decide on the retailer. So Park Power makes it possible for you to shop local when it comes to making this choice. That way, you get to support a local business and you can save money. It's easy to switch, and 10% of all profits go to local charities. Learn more at parkpower.ca. All right, let's get back to the show.
Oh, yeah. Like addicted to learning, I call it, right? You can never get enough. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to take the next course. I'm always trying to figure out how to get the latest, greatest thing into my brain. So yeah, definitely I have a little addiction to it.
So here's my fear. You're doing your master's. You're a great teacher. Your kids love you. You're doing an awesome job in the classroom. You get your master's, and then suddenly you get sucked up into, central office or something. Like, is that where you're going to go? Or are you going to leave us, or are you actually?
So actually not. I don't have any desire to even go into admin. I don't know. Lots of people are saying, oh, so you must have like a prescribed path for yourself, right? Getting into admit or your master's right away. And I don't. I am just trying to better myself, and I don't really know what'll come of it, but I think as a teacher, it's going to make me better in the classroom. Yeah. So I have no plans to leave. Definitely not anytime soon if it is. So definitely my place is as a teacher in the classroom.
That's awesome to hear. Because I always, I see so many of these people, on Twitter, and I talk to a lot of these really great educators, but they're not in the classroom anymore. And it's just like, oh, I wish you were. So, no, that's good to hear that your ever growing abilities will still be, delivered to the children.
Oh yes, absolutely. That's my intent.
Yes. You can still write a book on the side though, right? Making millions.
Yes, maybe.
So, you're a learning junkie. You've written your blog. You said you've learned a lot from that. Doing your master's. So what are some of the, the big things that you've learned in these first 3 years?
So I think my biggest revelation in my first few years of teaching is that you are enough as a teacher. I think, especially as a new teacher, you're always trying to give 200%, right? That's how teacher burnout happens. And that's how so many people are leaving the profession so early on. And I think as I'm learning more about who I am as a teacher in the classroom and about myself and about my students, it's really just knowing that you are coming into the classroom the best that you can. And you are doing everything that you can. And you are impacting students that it's going to be lifelong impact. And sometimes it's hard for us to remember that. And especially through surviving teaching, when I'm reflecting on those positive moments, those negative moments, everything in between, I always come back to you are doing everything that you can and you are doing an amazing job. And I think as teachers, we don't give ourselves enough credit. And I think we're so critical on others, right? We're always like, oh, what is he or she doing in the classroom? Or they're doing too much, they're doing too little. And the reality is that we're all doing everything that we can. And so I think out of everything that I've learned, it's that we need to kind of band together more and be more collaborative and know that we are enough. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So, but burnout is a huge thing, right? I know it's at least been a couple times in my career I've come within a hair's breadth of just packing it in, just being like, I'm done. So how do you draw that line then? How do you avoid that burnout?
So I definitely think being reflective is one of them. Selfishly, also surviving teaching is a way for me to document everything that I'm going through. But I also think just surrounding yourself with an awesome group of people. There's a psychologist that worked with our division last year, and her name is Dr. Jody Carrington. And I often think about what her message is, and her message is, think about your bottom hands and the rest don't score. And she talks about kind of your bottom hands being your anchor, your support system, your foundation for what you're building the rest of your life on. And my bottom hands are my family and my friends and those colleagues that I started teaching with that are helping me to kind of do crazy things and to do a master's in my third year teaching, because I have that strong support system and that strong network of people. And I think that everybody needs that, right? And yeah.
Oh, okay. So have you had any like particular support within the building as well, or is it mostly, on the outside for you?
Oh, absolutely within the building.
Okay.
Like I've had some incredible admin that I've worked with, but also just incredible leaders within my teaching staff as well. Like people that have just really emerged as guiders and those like lighthouses among our staff that know when people need help and know how to take you under their wing. And I definitely think about those people that have been so influential or just supportive when you need somebody to talk to. And I hope that everybody would have that on staff for sure.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. Boy, this is bringing back a lot of memories from my early teaching career.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just remember like my first year teaching and just working. It's just so hard. It was every moment, every day. I was working about half time, like paid. Sorry, I was getting paid half time, and I was working way more than full time. And I remember one day the vice principal walked into my room when I was on a prep, and my first thought in my brain was, oh no, they found out, they're going to fire me. Yeah. And I actually
you're working too hard.
Yeah. Well, he came in, he's like, how you doing? I'm like, well, honestly, this is what I just thought. And I actually told him, he's like, whoa, no, you're doing okay. And he was a really great support. I mean, that is so essential because I'm sure some people are just brimming with confidence and they're just barreling through their first year, no problem. But I think there's a lot too that are, maybe more along the lines of being, like me, being filled with doubts. So,
right. Yeah, or just surviving, right? Day to day, trying to figure out, okay, I got through today. What's happening tomorrow? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I still have plenty of days like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. Oh man, I shouldn't admit that though. I've been teaching 15 years. I've got it all figured out. That's a lie. So you talk about being able to do crazy things though. So what's some of the craziest, awesomest things you think you've done in your classroom?
So maybe not in my classroom, but in my school. Okay. Last year, I created a cultural center within our school. So I saw, like I was talking about before, kind of a gap between kids who are coming to Canada new, coming into our community new, and who are kind of forced to assimilate with everybody else, learn English, kind of abandon their first language, abandon their culture, become Canadian. And through all that process, my heart broke for them because I knew that there was a person in there who knew another language, who had another identity and had a culture that wasn't being embraced. So I created this cultural center as kind of a hub for language and culture. So we have flags from all over the world in there. We have multilingual books and posters, and it's really a place, and games. And so it's a place for kids to just come and hang out and speak language freely, learn other languages, teach other languages, or practice English, or do whatever they need to feel like they have support in wherever they've come from. And then kind of secondary to that, it's helping other kids become more aware of the language and culture that kids are coming to Canada with, and just trying to build empathy for those kids who have a whole other identity to them. And so this kind of has become my passion project, and teaching English as a second language to those kids, but also making them feel like they really have a home and they are supported, and trying to figure out who they are in Canada. And I've seen it work wonders both for those kids, but also for kids who are just getting to know them or getting to know just culture in Canada, right? It's our reality right now that, or into the future even, that we're such a cultural mosaic that having these kids know and embrace other language and other culture and other identity is going to be crucial to their success.
So, I mean, you said you got about 63 ESL students. I mean, how many different languages are actually represented, or different cultures are represented in that group?
So within our school, there isn't a lot of diversity in language. We have a lot of kids that come from the Philippines, so they speak Tagalog. And then we have some Spanish speaking, some Portuguese speaking. So that's mostly it. I would say we have maybe 3 to 5 languages represented. But within that, mostly the kids that use the cultural center are those ESL kids, but also just kids that identify as other cultures. So maybe you have Italian descent and you would like to learn some Italian, or our Ukrainian bilingual program has the chance to teach other kids Ukrainian or just embrace different people. So it's not necessarily kids that are just learning English or who come to Canada, but also those who have descendants from other places. And it's cool for the kids to just see their heritage represented in there.
Right on. So it's more than just a welcome place for people who are ESL. It's like kind of a cultural exchange center.
Totally. Exactly.
That sounds really fantastic. And then, so say I'm a student there, can I just go in there and say, I want to learn some Mandarin or something? Like, is that something you could do in there?
Yeah, so we obviously do our best to find resources to support them. Maybe somebody knows the Mandarin. So I would definitely help them find those resources. Cool. But also we've hosted global cafes in there. So I come with sentence starters or little games in different languages, and kids just come and hang out and drink hot chocolate or eat their lunch. And it's kind of an open space for kids to ask questions or explore a different language or speak English and practice with their friends. So I kind of try and have some structured time and then some unstructured time as well.
Wow. That sounds like a pile of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome fun.
Well, I'm going to have to come and visit.
I would love you to.
Absolutely. I could totally. Wait a minute. I just kind of said that off the cuff. I'm like, I could. We're in the same place.
You're just probably down the road.
Yeah, I might just be. Actually, I think I am. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow, Ryan, this has been super enlightening. I love I love your approach on the whole surviving teaching thing and the culture exchange. This is really cool. So,
thank you.
Okay, now if you're in the Catholic system, are you going to be like at NCTCA, or is that part of your?
Yeah, I am actually, and I'm speaking at it as well. Yeah,
sign me up.
Yeah, so it's called Making Cultures Visible. That's my little speech, I guess. And I'm going to be talking about the cultural center and kind of how we're working to make language and culture a part of our school and how it's important in kind of Canada moving forward and our community moving forward. And so I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, there you go. There's an unexpected plug. If you're going to be at the NCTCA, was that February 8th and 9th, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, check that session out. Awesome. I will be there.
Awesome. I'm so excited to see you.
Sweet. Right on. Well, thank you again, Caterina. This has been awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. It's been great.
Not a problem. We'll see you out there on Twitter. Oh, speaking of Twitterverse, before we go, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way if they want to? Yeah,
so on Twitter, I'm at Caterina Rylance. My blog is survivingteaching.org. I'm also on Instagram at survivingteaching.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I'll get those in the show notes. And we'll see you out there on the Twitterverse.
Awesome. See ya. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, and listeners, if you want to get in touch or you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at theedpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at theedpodcast. If you want to listen to more of Ed, you head over to the website, theedpodcast.podbean.com, or you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the podcatcher of your choice. Just search up Ed Conversations. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. You can find this and all the other member podcasts over at albertapodcastnetwork.com. Ed can also be heard on VoiceEd Radio. It's 24-hour internet broadcasting devoted to the best ideas in education. Just head over to voiced.ca. So, on behalf of myself and Caterina, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.